What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined with my co-host, Will Cohen. This is pretty much the last episode that we're going to make covering the trade deadline until the trade deadline actually happens tomorrow afternoon. I know I'll be working during the day, but tomorrow evening around 4 or 5, we'll be able to get up the full trade deadline review around that time. But for now, the trade deadline is less than 24 hours away. It is quite literally the final countdown, just like the one they used to sing about all the time. And the Rangers, they've already went and got their third-line center in Alex Wennberg. But now they've got a bigger fish to catch. They need that first-line right winger. Reports have been going crazy left and right all day long. At first, the Rangers were deep on Jake Gensel. Then all of a sudden, Carolina clears up millions in cap, and we're like, all right, there he goes, off to the Canes. Now all of a sudden, the Rangers are even deeper into the Gensel discussion. Apparently, there was some news that came out where the Rangers rejected an offer from Anaheim that would send our first-round pick and Kaapo Kakko to the Ducks in exchange for Adam Henrique and Frank Vatrano. But I guess if Gensel's off the board, he would be their next spot. But then there's always the Pavel Buchnevich possibility. Things are crazy, and there's no way to predict what's going to go down within the next 24 hours. But we're going to do our best job at making those predictions, talking about what we would be okay with, what would be against for the final time this year. But before we do, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss notification. If you're watching this on Apple or Spotify, be sure to give us a 5-star review. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And lastly, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers for daily Rangers updates and content. So, Will, here we go. Trade deadline, less than 24 hours away. How are you feeling?
We're in the dog days, dude. It just feels very slow. I don't know. There's nothing really coming out today. I mean, it was yesterday. Obviously, we know Gensel. There's a lot of reports on Gensel, but when's he going to be moved? I don't know. David Pagnotta just said Carolina wants a scoring winger. That is clear, but I've gotten some pushback from people around the NHL about their willingness to pay a premium for a big fish, in parentheses Gensel, question mark with a question mark too. It's not their MO to spend big on rentals unless they change that mindset. I'm cautiously skeptical. So from that, that was 12 minutes ago. Kind of seems like maybe the Rangers are the top landing spot right now for Gensel, but I don't know. I mean, it's literally all news, and I don't know how much of it is true. I don't know how much of it's just speculation, but
yeah. And at the same time, about 30 minutes ago, the Empty Netters podcast just tweeted out, Jake Gensel to the Rangers is heating up big time. It's going to cost a lot, something like a first-round pick, Kaapo Kakko, and possibly a coveted prospect. But that is the type of big move that's a difference maker for New York. Which, I mean, yeah, that's a lot to pay for a rental. A first-rounder, Kakko, and what is likely Brennan Othmann. It's going to be heartbreaking to see. But again, Jake Gensel's the type of player that would really make the Rangers Cup contenders. But it's likely for a rental. So I'm just so nervous because my nightmare situation is we trade away Kakko and Othmann, and then 3 years from now, Kakko has blossomed in Pittsburgh. Brennan Othmann has blossomed with the Penguins too, and then they just go and destroy the Rangers when we just didn't win a cup this year because Gensel wasn't enough.
See, I think the only way that I'd be happy if we got if we gave up that for Gensel. Well, I mean, I'd be happy if we got Gensel, but I'd be more happy if we giving that up if I knew that Gensel would be extended.
Yeah, but we don't know that though.
Exactly, we don't know that. So
what we know is that he wants to test the free agency market.
Yeah, I'm like skeptical. I feel like if you want to go for if you want to give up that package like for Buchnevich, because he has 2 years left on his contract. He has this year and then obviously next year. But Gensel is also just has this year. So if you're going to give that up, like you might as well you got to extend him because there's no reason to give up Kakko and I mean I get it, like there is a reason to, but like if you're not going to extend him, then what's the point of giving all that up if, you know, if they're going to potentially blossom to be very good players for the Penguins. I don't know, but I just don't think. I mean, and I could go even deeper than that, but I don't know. I just want the Rangers to get a right winger. That's really all I care about. They just need to get one soon before all of them are off the market.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the other problem. So let's say Gensel does fall through. He gets traded to Carolina or wherever. Frank Vatrano is next up on that list. Now, obviously, the Ducks have all of the power in this situation because they made an offer to us for him for just Kako and a first, and we said no for Vatrano and Henrique. So now if Gensel falls through and we need to go back on Vatrano, the Ducks can raise that price for less of the return package. Now at that point for Frank Vatrano, I think you're talking Kako, a first, and maybe another prospect or maybe another top draft pick. But first, by the way, that trade offer we rejected. Are you happy about it? Because I think I'm
happy about that. I don't. You don't give up Kako for Vatrano and Henrique, in my opinion. Like that's like I've said this before on this channel. Vatrano's not the needle mover that makes the Rangers solidified as Stanley Cup contenders. Like he just doesn't. Like that's not his game. He's not a playmaker. He's a shooter. He just doesn't make this Rangers team a Stanley Cup contender. So I am happy that we didn't do that. But I mean, if worse comes to worse and you have to go out and get him, then I'll be like, all right, it's fine, whatever. I really don't care. But with all these other options on the market, I am happy that we did not do that. And so many people said that we were going to have to, that Drury would be like, oh, Kako to first. Yeah, I'm doing that. And then it comes out that he straight up just rejected it. Like, I don't know. That's pretty funny in my opinion.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just nervous because I think at the time it was the right move to say no. But now it might come back to bite us because if we do have to go out and trade for Vatrano, it's going to be that plus more. And obviously, Drury's not a fortune teller. He can't look into the future. But I wish there was a way he could have known that we'd be in this situation.
I think that he's probably trying to go all in on Gensel and probably trying to get that done right now. I mean, just from the news that we've heard, that people have said they're in deep talks. I don't know what's going on, but I think that might be one of the other reasons that he rejected that offer because he knew. I mean, it's been pretty clear for the past couple weeks that Gensel was going to be available. So that's probably why he rejected it. And then he's probably, if that falls through, I bet that we go out and get Vatrano.
I don't know. I hate how it's all just in the dark. I mean, I get why it is, but I think it'd be really cool if the trade deadline kind of had a thing like the draft where all the GMs are in one stadium and we get to watch all the phone calls and go down.
That would be pretty sick. I cannot lie.
It would be peak content. It would be the greatest thing the NHL ever did. But then, all of Drury's tactics would be exposed to the entire world.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone would know what he's thinking and what he wants. And I know he's a guy that loves to keep stuff close to his chest.
Yeah. So it would be cool if me and you could just sit in on these phone calls and then we can report about it. Because that's another thing I don't get is all these people making reports that they're hearing the Rangers are in deep on Gensel. It's how do you know? Are you sitting there? Are you sitting there next to
That's what I'm thinking too. How are you I get it that you have sources, but what if your sources aren't telling you the right thing? They could be lying to you too. There's so much there's so many ways that that could be a false report from somebody that I don't know. I'm in agreement with you on that. We're so in the dark that even these insiders, when they come out with information, it still feels like I'm in the dark. It still feels like I don't know anything.
Yeah, I know right now Chris Drury's probably sitting alone in his office, just on the phone. And unless someone's tapped his room, they don't know what he's saying, what he wants to give up, who he's talking to. So it's all over the place. I mean,
it's basically just pure speculation. Until it actually happens, it's basically just pure speculation.
And yeah, it is speculation, but I think the general consensus is that Jake Gensel's our top target. If he falls through, it's Vatrano. But I want to talk about Pavel Buchnevich before, it's the last thing we talk about, because he's a name that, I feel like it just makes so much sense. He's really good. He's played with the Rangers before with Kreider and Zibanejad. He wouldn't be a rental, and he's really cheap. So I'm why aren't the Rangers going after him? They wouldn't have to give up as much. And I think he would provide the same. But I know you really wanted to talk about Booch today. So
I really like Booch. Like I know. Well, there's reports that the Blues only want 2 first-round picks, and they will retain 50% of the contract. They're getting like they want to get creative with it. But I don't know if Chris Drury wants to trade for Buchnevich because obviously we know I guess it's now going to be 3 years ago he traded him, and then it's gonna be like if you trade for him back, it's like, oh, I did make a mistake and now I'm owning up to it. But then it kind of shows that he can own up to his mistakes and doesn't care. But I don't know. I think Emily Kaplan reported in her newest column that it's Gensel 1 and Vatrano 2. Like, I don't even know if they're even in on Buchnevich, but I would really like him back on this team. Obviously, he's played, that KZB line. He's played with Kreider and Zibanejad, so he'd be a really good fit on that first line. But I really haven't, like, there hasn't been anything about him. I know the Leafs are in on him too, and the Oilers want him too, but I have heard nothing about the Rangers.
I don't know. It's like we were just talking about. Everything's all over the place. It could be Gensel. It could be Vatrano. It could be Buchnevich.
Could be Duclair.
It could be Alex Tuch. It could be Anthony Duclair.
Off the market. The Sabres said they're not going to move him.
It could be Bukestad. It could be Zucker. We don't know.
We don't know anything until it's official.
Yeah. All we know is what we want to see happen. So that's the last thing I want to see. Well, look at this. To wrap it up before the trade deadline comes and goes, let's give who we want to see the Rangers trade for and what we think will actually happen. What I want to see is Jake Gensel win the Rangers a Stanley Cup. But realistically, I think we're all going to be sitting there at 12:01 tomorrow afternoon, a little disappointed. I don't think the Rangers are going to make the trade. And I think that if they do, we're going to heavily overpay, and it's going to be a sad situation. And then I think they're probably going to end up with Frank Vatrano and get bounced in the second round by Jake Gensel and the Carolina Hurricanes.
I want Gensel, but I think I want Buchnevich just because he has 2 years left on his contract. But I think it's going to be Vatrano. And people are going to – I'm telling you right now, Ranger fans are going to be disappointed when they are expecting one thing and he's not going to provide what they want on that first line. I can feel it right now. But
yeah, at least I know I've said it in the last 2 months leading up to this deadline. It's like one of the least exciting deadlines in my opinion. Just because I don't think there's a way that the Rangers can become Stanley Cup contenders without giving up way, way, way too much. Like last year, it was magical when we got Tarasenko and Kane and gave up practically nothing for him. Complete opposite this year. We're going to give up way too much for someone not nearly as good. But who knows? I could be wrong. Will could also be wrong. As we talked about this episode, it's all speculation. Drury could come out of left field and trade for Connor McDavid the second this video uploads. Who knows? It's the NHL trade deadline. Anything can happen. So we'll be back tomorrow evening to review everything that went down. Hopefully it's a positive review, but in my opinion, chances are it's going to be a little bit of a pessimistic episode. But if you're interested to watch that, be sure to tune back in tomorrow. Make sure you like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss notification. If you're watching us on Apple or Spotify, be sure to give us a 5-star review. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below on who you think the Rangers should go and get and who you think they actually are going to go and get. And lastly, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers, because even though we won't be recording an episode for the YouTube until tomorrow, you can bet that there will be plenty of posts on all of our social medias giving our reactions and updates and all that good stuff right there. So hope to see you over there as well. Have a good one. And
let's go Rangers.